Hello, just a few more thoughts about Egypt. It's like I stepped outside my North American existence and went to a realm that mirrors you so clearly, reflects your fear so simply and clearly and honestly, that when you come home, you can almost see the mind loops. It's like you've gotten out of the yard and you can look back and see it. The whole thing. When before you were such a part of it, even though you knew of the loop and the yard, you didn't really have the experience of being outside of it. Like the fish outside the fishbowl. Amazed it can still survive. Because it's been lied to its whole life and it doesn't really need the water to breathe. But the fish had to move past its fear to learn that. To understand that and experience that, because you can't really explain to the other fish that they can breathe air. They would laugh at you, tell you you're crazy. You're not living in the real world. Preoccupation with the materials of the West is different than trying to eke out a living. I wondered when I went to India why it was anathema to complain, looked down upon, thought of as rude. Once I went there, I understood, because you're alive, go. And we did our blessing 3 times to the light in gratitude that we were alive and that we had this opportunity for experience here. And that's what's missing in the West, the gratitude for the blessing of life. We take everything for granted. If they don't have our coffee in the grocery store, we get mad. If they don't have our branded toilet paper in the grocery store, we get mad. How dare they run out? You have to pay someone for toilet paper in Egypt. Paper products are at a premium, even in the best hotels. They're trying to kill that country. They don't want people to rise up and claim their power and be free. It would be there. It would be there that frequency would manifest itself. Please go to Egypt. There's nothing to fear. Not even fear itself. No need to fear it. Master it. See it for what it is. Allow some space. When I was sitting between the paws of the Sphinx, my back against the stele, surrounded by friends I'd bonded with for weeks, I made a conscious intention to breathe in, expand my body as wide as possible, and just leave anything I didn't need right there between the Great Mama. Between her great paws, right with the Great Mama, between her big paws. She welcomed my trash. She pulled it into the earth. She'll spit it out at Maui. I was refreshed. New energy poured into me, pushing and forcing the old out and into the ground of Giza. It's like walking a holy plateau, full of life, camels, people, money, buses, everything. Everything's there. The sesh, we're all there. It's hard to explain. Can't quite believe it's real. But it's right there. It's right there. No wonder those people carved that limestone outcrop. Hakim would say 52,000 years ago. It felt good to be there. It was a good place. Back in Buwizzer, when there was water. When there was water everywhere. Water, sound, background radiation. These are the principal building blocks of the science of Giza. Everything we need, we have. We don't need to make anything. Everything works. That's the biggest secret, that it used to work, that it used to work. And whether it was a solar outburst, some cataclysm shifted things. And we are the product of the post-traumatic stress disorder of our brilliant ancestors. And there must have been more than one kind of us. 42 sesh. Where do the Paracas skulls fit in there? They must have been part of the sesh. It's interesting. That's a good topic to study. The lineage of the 42. We know the 12 tribes of Israel. Per Neter, pyramid. Per house of the woman. Per were, the university, the school. Per Ka, house of the spirit. Per Ba, tomb. The 5 pers. The 5 cycles of the sun. She births the sun. Kepher, the scarab beetle, the driller, the dawning. The mid-morning, adolescence, Ra, the belly, the arrogant, the ram. Un, mid-heaven, adulthood, maturity. At the solar plexus. At her heart, Aten. The late afternoon, the wise one. And then the mother swallows the sun, Amen. And we are now in the darkness, awaiting our rebirth, moving through the dark night of the soul of our collective consciousness. But look on the horizon. The driller pushes the sun up, and then once more we are in the awakening. Welcome to the awakening. Out from the darkness, like plants growing up out of the earth, we have become nourished by our experiences, and now we are awakening back into full consciousness. The netters live in us once more, 360 degrees of consciousness, 180 male netters, natures, aspects of consciousness, 180 female netters, senses, awarenesses, aspects of consciousness, 360 embodied in you. You are the light. The light surrounds you. The light comes through you. You are the light. In one breath, yakini, yakini. The difference between spirituality and religion. According to oral tradition keeper Hakim, Awan. Before the cataclysm, we're talking 11,000 years ago, people didn't have religion, they had spirituality, which meant they might not have even spoken. And if they did speak, I suspect it was with sound language, like singing. Their science, their art, they were one. 360-degree consciousness. They had a holistic way of looking at the world. They didn't have the fear that we labor under. In essence, they knew where they were. They were safe. After the cataclysm, when their technology failed them, the pernetter went down, the biology started to fail, they had to deal with short-term concepts of death, hyenas digging up bodies. There was chaos. You can imagine. When you're used to having everything and being cared for, the degeneration into every man for himself must have been a shock. Eventually what developed was a class of priests, the Hanuti. And they had the old wisdom and used it for their own good. And developed a concept called religion. They would take 2 stones, roll them together. You can see a little triangle underneath when you roll 2 round stones together. Granite, there's a lot of crystals in it. So they used a lot of granite, alabaster, piezoelectric effect. The biology, they knew about this, running water, and what it could produce. And that's where the people went to re-energize. Eventually they built a wall around it. And they started saying to the people, could you please share some bread with us? Since you have so much bread in your field. And we will keep the sacred place for you. We will make sure nothing happens to it. And we will also take care of their dead bodies so that the hyenas don't dig them up anymore. We'll wrap them and mummify them and make sure that everything's okay for the next life. And if you do this, we'll promise you you'll have more life. You won't die. You will west. Before the cataclysm, the only word for death they had was westing, like the sun going down. People lived for a long time. So eventually they built another big courtyard around this, and this is how it went. Pretty soon there was a whole situation developing where the people forgot that they had 360-degree netters, and the priest started to tell them that the only way they would have access to the gods, the netters, was through the priest. And the priest sold the people a lie about who they were. And out of the fear and out of the desire to be safe, the people bought the lie. And they gave up their personal responsibility and followed religion as opposed to spirituality. Another way the Hanuti would get the people to come is they would have feasts. They would have big cooking feast, and the senses were stimulated. The people would smell the food, and they would go to the temples and beer. And it was a thing. Communion, community. You can see how this would develop. There is nothing wrong with what we're going through. These are the cycles of consciousness, and they spiral up and up and up. But we keep going around and around and around through the 5 suns. The birth, the maturation, and the death of the sun in relation to our consciousness. Is. We can see the history of the oral tradition keepers and keep it in context of no blame. It's just what happened. But to know the truth, we can be set free. And the story is much bigger than we've been led to believe. Because perception is everything. And power is the only thing left for people who have everything. Power over your thoughts, power over your emotions, power over your mind, power over your physical being. All four of your bodies, I'm sorry, they want power over, and they have had power over. They're going for the physical body now pretty hard with the chipping and the fluoridation and the nutrition depletion. So that's what I learned in Egypt. That's where we all come from. Go to Egypt, recharge, come back. Do your best. I love you.